of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of death. Amen.
And the Word was made flesh,
and dwelt amongst us.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of death. Amen.
Pray for us, O Holy Mother of God,
that we may be made worthy of the promises of Christ. Pour forth, we beseech you, O Lord, your grace into our hearts, that we, to whom the incarnation of Christ, your Son, was made known by the message of an angel, may by his passion and cross be brought to the glory of his resurrection, through the same Christ our Lord. Amen.
In the country. Tonight we'll have Mr. Christmas himself live here in the studio. Henry left at least one person dead before weakening into a typhoon. The Cordillera police say a 37-year-old farmer in Mayoyao town in Ifugao was killed in a landslide caused by continuous heavy rain. Officials say the rains were brought about by Super Typhoon Henry and Tropical Depression Gardo. Gardo dissipated into a remnant low on Thursday. Police added the victim was reportedly trapped in his brother's house, which was buried in a landslide on Wednesday. The body was only retrieved the following day. Disaster management officials say they are validating the police report. So far, tropical storm signal number 2 is still up over Batanes. People there should expect damaging to destructive storm force winds. The Babuyan Islands and the northeastern portion of mainland Cagayan are under storm signal number 1. These areas might see flash floods or landslides. All areas under storm signals, as well as Ilocos Norte and Abra, should also expect moderate to heavy rains tonight. The southwest monsoon, meanwhile, will bring rains over Isabela, the western portion of central Luzon, and the rest of the Cordilleras. Pagasa says Henry continues to weaken while moving northwestward over the Philippine Sea, northeast of Batanes. This typhoon is seen to weaken further in the next 12 hours. Pagasa says a short period of intensification may take place by tomorrow morning through Sunday, when it is expected to exit the country's weather monitoring area. Let's now check what's happening on the ground. Reporting live from Apari in Cagayan is Stanley Gajete. Stanley, what is the situation there like?
Pia, it's been windy and cloudy with occasional rains here in Apari, Cagayan, and there are huge waves in Babuyan Channel as well due to Typhoon Henry. There are also strong winds and waves in the shores of many northern Luzon provinces. While Henry did not make landfall, its position within the Philippines throughout Friday affected the islands of Batanes, the Babuyan group of islands, and parts of northern Luzon including Cagayan, Ilocos Norte, Abra, and Apayao. Light to moderate rains were experienced, says the Weather Bureau.
Naka-observe tayo ng light to moderate na rains at times heavy.
Batanes and Calayan Island here in Cagayan experienced strong winds and moderate to heavy rains.
May mga bugso ng ulan, may thunderstorm, kumukulong sa kidlat. Para sa dami ng experience namin, parang intensified lang na southwest monsoon. Sa ako lang Diyos, hindi naman hindi alarming. Hindi siya magpo-push ng damage.
In Itbayat, Batanes, the country's northernmost municipality, a riprap made of stone was damaged because of continuous rains last night.
Sa kalukuyan, nakaranas ang Itbayat ng medyo malakas na hangin at pabugsog-bugsong ulan. Medyo maaraw din po. Sa ngayon, simula kahapon, wala nang biyaheng bangka dahil sa gale warning.
The same scenario was observed in Basco, Batanes. Waves in coastal areas in Apari, Cagayan continue to limit the movement of fisher folk, affecting their livelihood. Some residents now opt to fish, even near the shore, just to get food.
Tignan sir, kung may mahuli ako sir, pangulam namin. Wala naman sir, ganyan na naman ang alon. Nakaduyan na naman kung walang mahuli dyan.
Hindi ko kaya talagang kanyan sir. Bangkain yan. Kung malaki lang na bangka, kaya. Kaso maliliit lang po. Maliliit lang po yung bangka. Pang-ulam lang po pa.
The Regional Disaster Risk Reduction Council is still monitoring the movement and possible impact of Typhoon Henry. All national roads and bridges in Cagayan region remain passable. Electricity and communication lines are unaffected. Water level in Cagayan River and creeks are normal. Behind me is the Babuyan Channel, and as you can see, waves are still rough and huge. Fisher folk are now waiting for calm waters in the coming days as the weather improves. And that's the latest here in Apari, Cagayan. Back to you, Pia.
Standing ahead there reporting. Shifting gears, bamboo and seaweed industry leaders are appealing for more funds to boost production. The Seaweed Industry Association of the Philippines says seaweed accounts for the bulk of aquaculture production. It adds the country still has about 85,000 hectares of underutilized municipal waters.
We have to go out from the near the coastline towards the deeper part of the sea. No? Yan yung deep sea fishing. Deep sea seaweed farming. Now, malaki po yung space niyan, pero it's a costly undertaking. Way back in 2012, we used to have a budget allocation of 250 million. Ngayon po 40 na lang.
The Philippine Bamboo Foundation says prices have spiked because of dwindling local production. The group flagged the lack of commercial plantations and education among farmers as causes of wrong harvesting. The foundation adds helping the industry can create more jobs in rural areas and mitigate the impact of climate change. The Health Department will sit down with the Interagency Task Force next week to discuss the proposal to lift the mask mandate in Cebu City. Officer in charge, Maria Rosario Vergeres, says they will study whether this could be implemented towards the end of the year.
We will weigh in kung ano po yung magiging pinaka-appropriate at saka safe para sa ating population if we continue on with this.
For now, Vergeres reiterates making masks optional is against existing COVID-19 rules. She expresses concern other local governments may follow suit.
That's one of our worry. That would be really disastrous for all of us. Ang katulad nga ng sabi ko, kailangan one nation approach tayo. Kailangan nagkakaisa tayo from the local governments up to the national level. We cannot just think of our area right now. We need to think of the entire Filipino population. Pag may mga taong hindi nakamask, we now then make the risk of people in this area higher to get COVID-19.
While the Cebu City government is bent on implementing its new face mask mandate, Interior Secretary Benher Abalos says, quote, there seems to be a miscommunication as to what Mayor Mike Rama and I discussed regarding the issue, unquote. No other details were given. While Abalos respects Rama's decision, he says he will keep communication lines open to give the mayor a chance to explain his position and the basis of the citywide order. Abalos earlier requested Rama to defer the implementation of making face masks optional in most places as he seeks to discuss the matter first with the IATF. He added local governments cannot have conflicting policies on pandemic response, especially since the national state of public health emergency is still in effect. More stories ahead. A senator expresses his dismay for a lack of support in the proposed parliamentary shift. And another attack on the lawyer in Cebu City leaves the local legal community in shock. Keep it here on Newsnight.
MX3, dito ako bilib.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
MX3, tunay, natural at orihinal.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Fried chicken? Timplang happy! With easy-to-cook Magnolia Chicken Timplados. Iba't ibang sarap ng chicken, kaya. Anong Magnolia Chicken Timplados mo? Iba't ibang easy chicken sarap.
Who said pickup trucks are built only for work? Next generation Ford Ranger. Do the undone. Reserve yours now on Ford.com.ph or at your nearest Ford dealer.
Mula sa pinagkakatiwalaan ko sa kusina, Pure Foods Ready to Eat Caldereta. Expertly prepared, kaya tiwalang easy saucy sarap in a few minutes. Tiwalang quality time, laging made easy. Pure Foods Ready to Eat.
Welcome to Greater Chelsea.
Tonight, we are launching our latest Galaxy devices. At Samsung, we continue to push the industry forward with our latest innovations on foldables, wearables, and hearables. So the Galaxy Z Flip 4 is the ultimate tool for self-expression. Right? It features the Flex Cam, which gives you the power to unlock new angles. The Galaxy Z Fold 4 is the ultimate tool for productivity. It has features like with all-new taskbar and with the widescreen, there's seamless transition between apps. So that's perfect and it's best for go-getters and professionals and goal-driven individuals. So we're equally excited about our new wearables that we're launching here tonight. So we have the Galaxy Watch 5 series and the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro. So our all-new Galaxy devices are currently available in the market. You can get them on Samsung.com or your nearest Samsung authorized dealer.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. The Philippine peso drops to its weakest in 18 years. The local currency closed at 56 pesos and 77 centavos against the dollar today, worse than the 56 pesos and 45 centavos recorded in October 2004. The peso also hit an intraday low of 56 pesos and 90 centavos. Analysts attribute the peso's further decline to signals from the U.S. Federal Reserve to keep interest rates high in a bid to fight inflation. Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments Chairman Robin Padilla appears to have been snubbed by so-called allies during a hearing on charter change today. Amor Santos has that story.
Ang bihira, oo. Sana magbigay po kayo ng interest. Ang akala ko, kaalyado natin tong mga nasa executive. Kung kaalyado namin talaga kayo, siputin nyo kami.
Senator Robin Padilla is dismayed over the absence of cabinet secretaries at the third hearing of the Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments. The National Economic and Development Authority and the Department of Finance did have representatives who attended virtually, while the Energy Department said it will just submit written comments instead. Padilla expresses his frustration by saying the way to go is a shift to parliamentary.
Sumasama ang loob ko, kaya ang nangyayari, pinipilit kong baguhin natin ito. Kasi kung ganito ang sistema, na para tayo nagmamakaawa dito sa executive, na para makasama lang natin, sana mag-parliamentary na lang tayo. Dahil sa parliamentary, obligado silang humarap.
A parliament holds both executive and lawmaking powers, with members elected per district. National Security Advisor Professor Clarita Carlos agrees there are many good things about this.
There will be no notion of term limits. If you are elected as a member of parliament, you can be elected for as long as you are alive. No term limits, no political dynasties. Parliament is a talking environment. You talk. If you zipper your mouth there, you'll be ousted in the next election because that's why no bobo can be member of parliament, by the way. I'm sorry for the use of the word.
Padilla also has an ally in Minority Leader Coco Pimentel.
Para sa akin, very simple. Mabilis ang decision making.
But economist Winnie Monsod points out, only two countries have changed their form of government from 1962 to 1998. Both Cyprus and Sri Lanka shifted from parliamentary to presidential. She adds studies show conflicting evidence on which form would lead to less corruption or better democracy. Higher government spending is seen in a parliamentary government with no significant impact on a country's economic performance. While Padilla wants to repeal the 60-40 constitutional limit on foreign ownership, Monsod says it's not necessary and won't even guarantee foreign direct investments.
If the purpose of the revision of that constitution is to attract foreign investment, it's not going to happen. It's not sufficient, you see. Never. You have to do the other things first.
Padilla plans to consult with local officials and indigenous groups in the provinces, starting with the Cordilleras after the budget season. His goal is to come up with a committee report on charter change before the year ends. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The Philippines is expected to sign several business agreements with Indonesia and Singapore when President Marcos makes his state visits to both countries next week. Mr. Marcos will be in Indonesia from Sunday to Tuesday. He's set to meet Indonesian President Joko Widodo. Apart from defense and culture agreements, the two chief executives will witness a signing of a comprehensive plan of action on the country's bilateral priorities over the next 5 years. The country's chief executive headed to Singapore on Wednesday, where he will separately meet with President Halima Yacob and Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Mr. Marcos and Lee will witness the signing of agreements in the areas of counterterrorism and data privacy. The House Appropriations Committee swiftly approves the proposed 9 billion peso budget for the Office of the President next year. The fund for President Marcos's office includes 4.5 billion pesos for confidential and intelligence funds. Lawmakers ended the budget hearing in a matter of minutes.
By tradition, extending parliamentary courtesy to a co-equal branch in government, I move to terminate the budget briefing of the Office of the President.
Kabataan Party List Representative Raul Manuel plans to question the Office of the President's confidential funds when the budget is taken up in plenary. The Office of the Press Secretary appealing to lawmakers to help save the government-owned Intercontinental Broadcasting Corporation, or IBC 13, from shutting down next year. Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles says the Budget Department rejected the proposed 73 billion peso budget for IBC next year. The network received zero funding based on the National Expenditure Program.
Kaya po ito nabigyan ng zero ay dahil ang categorization ng IBP is for privatization. Ngunit base dun sa batas, kailangan pag pinrivatize natin yung IBC, makadeliver siya ng at least 1 billion para sa modernization ng PTV natin. Hindi po makaka-raise at the current state ang ating IBC. Kailangan palakihin natin yung value niya, pero hindi natin magagawa yan at this stage, lalong-lalo na pag mag-force to close. Kung hindi po malagyan ang IBC, mawawalan po ng trabaho yung ating workers at by January, close operations na po tayo.
The Environment Department looking to hold public consultations on the rehabilitation of Manila Bay following the completion of the Dolomite Beach. The DNR admits it is facing some challenges such as the presence of solid waste and water hyacinths, as well as informal settlers. The agency is coordinating with the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development to prioritize the relocation of poor families living near the waterways that lead to Manila Bay.
We fully intend po to have a public consultation on this, especially as there have been many perspectives brought forward po ng mga communities, scientists included, and other environmental groups who are concerned with the implementation. In due respect to the efforts that have been done, I think that there have been some positive impacts. However, this is a complex situation wherein the ecosystems are actually interrelated and have been somehow disturbed.
Environment Undersecretary Jonas Leone says all structures for the Dolomite Beach have been installed, such as restrooms and wastewater treatment plants. In other news, unidentified gunmen fired several shots at a Cebu Port Authority lawyer and her son while they were on the road last night in Mandaue. The police say lawyer Karen Quinianola Gonzalez sustained a wound on her neck and her son Jeremy Keith was hit in the back. Both were rushed to a private hospital. Suspects have not been identified, but the investigation is ongoing. The Free Legal Assistance Group and the Integrated Bar of the Philippines condemning the ambush, which happened on the first day of what is called Rule of Law Month. The IBP expressed shock over, quote, another attack against a member of the legal profession and offered a 50,000 peso reward and useful information that could lead to the arrest of those behind the shooting. The Cebu Port Authority, in a statement, asking the public not to share the victim's personal information for their safety. In other news, how many times have you wished you could correct a typo or add a thought to your tweet? Twitter announcing that it is now testing an edit button internally, but subscribers of its paid service, Twitter Blue, yet to be available in the Philippines, will already get to test it in the coming weeks. The function gives users 30 minutes to make tweet changes, but readers will also be able to view previous versions. Up next on Newsnight, with their backs to the wall, the San Miguel Beermen are looking to extend the Philippine Cup Finals to a winner-take-all Game 7. And Christmas definitely in our hearts as we enter the so-called Burr months. Philippine Christmas icon Jose Mari Chan joins us next. You're watching CNN Philippines.
When life heats up, it's time to cool down. Introducing the next-gen Ford Everest. Life is yours to master. Reserve now on Ford.com.ph or at your nearest Ford dealership.
It can be dangerous out there. Buti na lang there's locally superfruits. Para sa akin, super nutritious, super delicious. All superfruits contain more antioxidants than your average fruit. Superfruit for a super you.
Friends, try nyo to. Vet-approved Nutri-Chunks in lamb flavor. With active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real lamb goodness. With essential nutrients to help keep them strong, healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Now it's time to live the life. Let's have sun make life with the sun out. Any hour is now happy hour. Ang katapusan ng bawat kwento, may inuumpisa ang bago. Get into the life.
Sun make light.
Welcome back. In sports, a critical Game 6 in the PBA Philippine Cup Finals happening now at the Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City. The TNT Tropang Giga only need a win tonight for the crown, while the San Miguel Beermen playing to force a Game 7, hopefully on Sunday. The score is 51-30 in the second quarter in favor of San Miguel. Filipinos welcomed the beginning of the Burr months, regarded as the unofficial start of the country's Christmas season, the longest Christmas season in the world, by the way. Mr. Christmas, Jose Mari Chan's memes have taken social media by storm, as they do every year. One shows him wearing a Santa hat and a face mask, peeking from behind a wall, hinting that he's on his way to spread some Christmas cheer. Another meme features American diva Mariah Carey, also a Christmas icon for her modern classic, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Jo Mari Chan and Mariah definitely bringing the Christmas feel through their voices and songs. Sorry, not salt. Just yesterday, we caught up with the founder of Funko Fanatic PH, Nico Lim, and JMC's daughter, Lisa Chan Parpan, who talked about the latest Funko pop line, Jose Mari Chan, in a black suit and a yellow tie with a microphone in his right hand. And tonight, we have Mr. Christmas himself here in the studio. Good evening. Tito Joe, welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you very much. But I don't like to be called Mr. Christmas.
Yeah. Parang that name belongs to
Jesus Christ, the baby Jesus.
The baby in the manger. So, Tito Joe, you're only the third Filipino after Manny Pacquiao and Jokoy to be Funko. That's supposed to be a word now. And I understand from your daughter Lisa, like we said earlier, Lisa was here, and Nico Lim of Funko Fanatic Philippines, that you were wondering what Funko was. The first time Lisa talked to you about it, you were like, what's that?
That's correct. Oh, but apparently there are many collectors of Funko in the Philippines.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Some of them are good friends of ours.
Oh, okay. So Lisa brought some of the Funkos to you so that you could see.
For me to autograph.
Oh, to autograph. Okay. But what were you thinking when they said, hey, we want to make you into a doll, immortalize you into a doll?
Well, I consider Funko as a toy. And so I feel complimented that the young people associate me with Christmas. And this is
no,
another...
not just the young people, everybody. Crosses generations.
So it's a compliment, and I feel that it's a blessing, Pia, that the gift of music, the gift of songwriting comes from God. And thank you for blessing me with this chance of being associated with the joyful season of the world.
Okay, so tell us first, Tito Joe, because you were just recently in the U.S. There was like a tribute concert for you, right? And then
yes, in Los Angeles, there's a symphony orchestra called FASO, Filipino American Symphony Orchestra, and last August 20. They performed a concert of my music at the Disney Concert Hall. So that was magical for me. I brought Marianne, my wife, and my 2 kids, and 3 of my grandchildren.
Okay, that was great. And Lisa said that she also brought you to a Funko store.
Yes.
Biggest one in the U.S. and in the world.
Yes, and so they showed me around, and I bought a few Funko dolls to give away.
Yeah. Which ones?
Well, the Michael Jackson. And
Michael Jackson, and what else? What else?
Some others. There's a picture of me there.
Yeah, in that store.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, but Lisa brought you there precisely so that you could see, how big Funko was and what it's going to mean.
That's right.
And the choice pala of the release date, yesterday, September 1, that's because of the start of the Christmas season.
Yeah, the coming of the Christmas season in the Philippines.
Okay. But I heard from Nico that the plan was to release this last year, September last year.
Honestly, I didn't know that. But I guess, as you had mentioned earlier, it's perfect timing because last September saw the upsurge in the COVID cases, so it would have been a bad time.
So this is a good time. Tama-tama.
Yes.
Okay. Tito Joe, let's talk about very quickly the memes. There's so many that come out every single year. It's like clockwork talagang basta September 1, kahit na hindi pa September 1 may maglalabas na malapit na, yung mga ganun,
The peeping.
Yeah, the peeping.
It's a good thing I was telling my friends that my name is Joe and not Tom. Otherwise, I would be a peeping Tom.
At least you're a peeping Joe. Okay. But when you see all those memes and then, well, like you said earlier, you feel that it's good to be associated with Christmas. But what's so important to remember about Christmas?
Well,
although I know it's like 3.5 months away.
I tell my friends that the essence of Christmas is love. That our Lord came into this world out of love for us. And also, when you think of Christmas, you think of the Holy Family, Saint Joseph, Mama Mary, and the baby Jesus. So, family is the essence of Christmas. And so it's very important for the families to get together, heal wounds, forgive one another, and so on, and be united, you know? So, and what else? I also tell my friends that our Lord Jesus Christ was not born in a castle. He was not born in a palace. He was born in a simple stable. So that means that the baby Jesus identifies himself with the poor. So I encourage my friends that those of us who have been blessed with sufficiency should be able to share with those in need, especially at this time of the pandemic, Pia, when a lot of people are out of jobs, a lot of people are in need. So this is a good opportunity for us this Christmas. In fact, every month of the year, but especially Christmas, that we should share our blessings.
Okay. I remember last year in our Christmas special with your children, you said specifically that the gift you asked for from them was to donate to charitable causes or to help other people.
Yes.
So that's the same thing that you asked for.
Yes. And we try to visit orphanages and to see that they are blessed with sufficiency, but there are many who are not. So share your blessings. I always think of the three kings who came to visit and they brought gifts to the baby Jesus.
And of course, Tito Joe, our gift to the audience come Christmas time will be another Christmas special with you, right? And your children.
I'm looking forward to that.
For taping in very soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jose Marichan. I won't say Mr. Christmas na para.
No.
Thank you, Tito Joe. Thank you for being here. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Kini ang simbianan sa RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS. DXKS 1080. Ang inyong Radio Ronda. 5,000 watts. Nagsimbiya sa ikatulong andana sa UFCO Lim Building, Borromeo Street, Dakbayan sa Surigao. RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS 1080. Ang inyong Radio Ronda.
That time check was brought to you by ACS Manufacturing Corporation, ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
The body has its own way of healing. When you injure your cartilage, the tough, slippery tissue that covers the ends of bones where they form a joint, the body repairs the damage by creating a new bone in the area. Now these lumps are what we call bone spurs. In this episode, we'll take a closer look at what bone spurs are and how they affect the body. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Our guests are here today to guide us on what are bone spurs. With us is Dr. Mikhail Louver. He's an orthopedic surgeon at St. Luke's Global City and assistant professor at St. Luke's College of Medicine. Also with us is Dr. Franklin Domingo. He's a rehabilitation medicine specialist from the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Bone spurs, a lot of our viewers who hear of bone spurs, its medical term is osteophytes. I'll start the conversation with Dr. Miko. When we talk about osteophytes or bone spurs, what exactly are these? What are we talking about here?
They are essentially a reaction of bone whenever they come into contact with each other. So it is most commonly seen in the most common condition, which is osteoarthritis.
Dr. Frank, what are the more common ways for a person to know that they have osteophytes or bone spurs?
Patients come to us in our clinic, they often even don't have an idea about what bone spurs are. But then when they come in because of neck pain, back pain, heel pain, knee pain, or hip pain, we ask for an x-ray, and invariably a result will come out. And they begin to ask, is this the cause of the pain, or is this something that's just incidental? Is it a pain generator? So that's how we usually encounter the patients who complain of bone spurs.
Now, I'd like to ask Dr. Miko naman, when they come in for pain, what are the more typical parts of the body would someone feel these osteophytes or these bone spurs? Where do they usually come out?
Essentially, if you look at epidemiology or numbers, it is actually on the knees, which is the most common area where these patients would come in for pain. Next would be the feet, the hands, and then the back as well.
Dr. Miko, you mentioned about the knees, the feet, and whatnot. They come in for pain. Let's talk about the character of the pain that someone would usually feel when they do have a bone spur. Is something significant with the pain? Could you describe the kind of pain that a bone spur would elicit?
Bone spur pain would give out some form of localized or direct pain on that part of the body. Where it is the knee, then the pain would be localized on that knee region or somewhere close to it. There's also a concept that we call it radiates somewhere close to that area. So essentially, it is pain. It's like point tenderness pain. Whenever you point to that region, that is where it's most painful at, then most likely it is because of consequence of the bone spurs.
Now, Dr. Frank, let's talk about that a little bit. Could you expound a little bit more on how bone spurs occur in the process of repair?
Yeah, it's your body's failed attempt at trying to repair damage that has been caused through wear and tear. Most specifically in patients with arthritis. And it usually happens in joints where we have a lot of loading. So when damage occurs in these joints because of injuries, overuse, or just simply wear and tear, it's the body's own way of trying to heal itself. But invariably, it just doesn't work out the right way. And we have bone spurs. And when they touch on nerves that are sometimes around these structures, they invariably cause pain.
Now, apart from repairing injuries to our bones and joints, are there other causes of bone spurs, Dr. Miko?
It usually comes into play with regards to medical conditions. So these come into play with some conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. These come into play with gout or gouty arthritis. And these are more of the medical arthropathies or medical joint pains that we also see in clinic.
Dr. Miko, are there certain people who are more at risk of developing bone spurs? I hear a recurrent term here is osteoarthritis. So are there certain age groups who are more at risk of getting bone spurs?
The most common age group, it's actually the middle age to the elderly age group. There's actually a study done in PGH wherein they essentially mapped it out somewhere around 60 years old, where these patients would come into your clinic complaining of the joint pain. One of the biggest factors as well that you could commonly see in medical literature is that these patients who develop these joint pains outside of the age parameter or the degenerative problem, especially when they come into you at an early onset of an age, then we have to think about some form of genetic or medical problem that would lead to these bone spurs.
Now, Dr. Frank, is it sort of inevitable for the elderly or those advancing in age to have bone spurs? And if that is the case, are these relieved or not relieved for that matter with your common pain relievers such as those like non-steroidal anti-inflammatories?
Bone spurs are much like taxes, as some other doctors would say. They're like taxes in death. They're unavoidable. They just happen. And as with regards to the treatment, when using non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they would probably just relieve you of the pain. But is it addressing the root cause of the pain? I don't think so.
Can diet do anything with osteophytes or bone spurs for that matter? A lot of our viewers try to prevent this by eating healthy, taking calcium supplements and whatnot. Will these do anything in trying to prevent osteophytes from happening?
I think they will. They will help. Especially studies now have come out that a Mediterranean diet, which is high in olive oil, green leafy vegetables, different colors of fruits, I think diet may play a good part. Supplements, I'm not so sure if there are any supplements that could alleviate the symptoms or the progression. Although they did have some studies that have come out that a deficiency in certain vitamins like vitamin B, vitamin E, and sometimes even vitamin K have an increased occurrence of bone spurs in some patients.
Dr. Miko, before we go into break, can bone spurs occur because of the way certain people have handled their skeletal structure during their younger years, high-impact sports, carrying increased weight on their joints for that matter, ill-fitting shoes, all of these factors, can these contribute to having osteophytes or bone spurs?
Whatever the person has done onto their earlier parts of their lives, essentially it adds to the load on the joint. And then as we know that these bone spurs are a natural reaction to these overloading issues, then in a way, it takes a chip daily into your joint longevity. Weight management together with exercise is the easiest way in terms of trying to prevent the progression of these bone spurs.
When we return, we'll discuss how bone spurs can be signs of a more serious problem in your body. We'll be right back here on Med Talk Health Talk.
Para sa sinina nga ka-bloom sa kahumot, suwayi ang Charm Fabric Conditioner.
Charm Fat Con, bamong kumaga-bloom. Charm Fat Con, gamit kay may bangon yung salibong bulaklak.
Charm Fabric Conditioner. Dunay Stay Fresh technology. Sinina nga ka-bloom sa kahumot.
Charm Fat Con, bamong kumaga-bloom. Charm Fat Con, gamit kay may bangon yung salibong bulaklak.
Charm Fabric Conditioner. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Pride Bar. Dili lang puti, kisla puti.
Pagilabhan sa Pride Bar Blue, ang puting sinina mahimong
Mas puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito.
Sa Pride Bar Blue, pwedeng dili na ko magtina, anyel o bleach. Kaya ang Pride Bar Blue, dunay power whitener nga sa gumsum sa matag hibla. Mao nga sinina, kisla puti ug humok pa sa kamot.
Mas puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito.
Pride Bar Blue with power whitener. Dili lang puti, kisla puti.
Pride Bar, manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
And your host of Sulit to Win It, Mr. Luis Manzano.
Tanong ng bayan, bakit sulit ang BioFlu? And the top answers are, dahil kaya ang flu, lagnat, sipon, headache, body pain, ubo from postnasal drip.
Ang dami!
Teka, may pahabol pa. Sore throat.
Sulit!
Winner ka sa BioFlu. Sulit dahil kaya all. Babangon ka sa BioFlu. Unilab yan. Phenylephrine HCl chlorpheniramine maleate paracetamol is the generic name of BioFlu. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Sa Pride Anti-Bac Detergent, limpyo ang nilaban, knockout ang bakterya.
Stop ang germs sa Pride with Anti-Bac. Linis ang labada, knockout ang bakterya.
Ang Pride Anti-Bac adunay germ knockout action. Kills 99.9% of germs sa biste sa pamilya.
Stop ang germs sa Pride with Anti-Bac. Linis ang labada, knockout ang bakterya.
Pride Anti-Bac Detergent. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Protektahi ang imong mga mata batok sa delikado ug makadaot nga ultraviolet nga silaw sa adlaw ug uban pa. Pinaagi sa pagsulob og eksakto nga prescription sa antiyohos o antipara. Likay ang mga simptomas sama sa hanap nga pananaw sa layo o duol nga basahon, sakit sa ulo ug uban pa nga makaapekto sa atong kahimsog nga ang hinungdan depekto sa atong mga mata. Alang sa kumpleto nga primary eye care, contact lenses, fashion eyewear, computer eyeglasses, sunglasses, accessories ug uban pa, adto kita sa AG Buñuel Optical Clinic. Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic nagpahinumdum kanato nga ang kahimsog sa atong mga mata usa ka prioridad nga angay ipa-check up kausa matag tuig aron pagsiguro nga luwas kita sa piligrong mga sakit. Pinagi sa lisensyado og qualified optometrists nga maoy mo prescribe sa eksaktong kagamitan og kung primary eye care ang paghisgutan. Duaw lang silang buhatan sa 3636 sa Nicolas Street, Surigao City ug adunay ilang extension office sa Aurelianida Street, Cantilan, Surigao del Sur. Ayaw kalimti higala. AG Buñuel Optical Clinic.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic doon na branch dito sa lungsod sa Dapa sa may Lupis Haina Street, Poblasyon Dapa, Surigao del Norte.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic dinhi sa syudad ng Surigao. No transfer na sa bag-ong location sa Nicolas Street, Ragyahapon, tapad sa Garcia Hotel at bang sa Unicity.
Sa panahon ngayon, kau ba'y sigurado? Kau ba'y protektado? Ang pamilya ay i-shield mo.
Laban sa bakterya,
I-shield mo.
laban ng antivirus,
I-shield mo.
Shield Bath Soap. Patay ang 99.9% of bacteria and virus tested. Bilib ang mga eksperto sa Philippine Nurses Association.
Sa sakit protektado, i-shield mo. Pamilya'y protektado, i-shield mo.
Shield Bath Soap. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
Ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated na sa ilang bagong location sa Dalan, Burgos, ning atong syudad. Mahimo niyong tawagan sa telephone number 231-7478 or 826-3663. Mga produkto nga inyong mapalit, genuine, Makita Power Tools sama sa planer, drill, grinder, Triton Paints, construction supplies, angle bars, flat bars, GI pipes, automotive spare parts, Firefly electrical devices sama sa switches, bulbs ug outlets. Adto ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated sa ilang bagong pwesto sa Dalan, Burgos ning syudad. Makahangyo ka o makabarato pagyod diha sa Riverside Parts Master Incorporated.
Aniya na ang food supplement nga kumpleto, sakto o aprobado. Ang Kalabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Kalabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Maayo alang sa pag-maintain sa imong maayong panglawas. Kahimsog ug kapiskay sa mga pamati. Kalabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Pakusog sa enerhiya ug stamina. Mupalikon sa imong immune system. Kalabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Andam sa pagpakigbatok sa mga nagkadaiyang balatian. Musulay pa baka sa uban? Diri na kita sa kasaligan. Kalabo Plus Herbal Capsule. Kalabo Plus Herbal Capsule. A quality product of Jesser Marketing. Palit na karon sa mga butika.
EXL Life and Herbs Nutraceutical.
EXL Makabuhay Plus with Vitamin C Sodium Ascorbate, Vitamin B1, B6, and B12. Ang ligon nga immunity, resistensya, balanse ug tamang nutrisyon, ehersisyo, eksaktong katulog ug pagtubar sa EXL Makabuhay Plus. 1 or 2 capsules matag adlaw. Giila kining immune booster, detoxifier, multi-herb nga kapsula, makahatag kini og taas nga kinabuhi, kabasko, kaabtik sa panghuna-huna ug kalawasan nga layo sa balatian. EXL Makabuhay Plus, dinihukan sa gahom sa Ginoo, gihiusa ug gipakusgan sa nag-inusara ug milagrosong kapsula. EXL Makabuhay Plus, proteksyon at depensa sa anumang karamdaman, kasangga nagpawat pamilya.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
That news was brought to you by ACS Manufacturing Corporation, ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. Now, earlier we discussed what bone spurs are and what causes it. Now we'll discuss what other health conditions it may be connected to. Arthritis is the swelling and tenderness of one or more of your joints. Now, the most common type is osteoarthritis. Now, osteoarthritis causes cartilage to break down, and as we've mentioned earlier, the body repairs the damage by growing bone spurs. Now, Dr. Miko, let's talk a little bit about connection of arthritis and that of osteophytes or bone spurs. Is one dependent on the other?
Essentially, it is a cause and effect. So whenever these joints are overloaded, the cartilage begins to get damaged. And when these joints get damaged, the body's natural reaction is to try to stabilize or prevent or decrease the pain. And the only way for the bone to hold on to these structures is to produce more bone.
Dr. Frank, do we see the increased occurrence of bone spurs when the arthritis begins as well?
Yes, that's something which we can expect. As arthritis progresses, the amount of bone spurs that we see in patients' x-rays or in CT scans or in MRIs, we also see that they increase. Again, it's your body's way of trying to heal itself, but it's just not doing the right job. So that we have bone spurs and we have pain.
Now, Dr. Miko, given that bone spurs can be a result of arthritis, how do we lessen the risks? Is there a way for us to lessen the risks of arthritis, of developing arthritis to begin with?
Yes, there are ways, modifiable ways that we can do to prevent these to prevent the disease progression. And it is one of the easiest ways to do this is through proper weight management and through good exercise. Exercise is actually a very good way to strengthen the musculatures around that joint region. And once we get these like good muscles around these regions, then essentially it is a way of unloading the joint.
Dr. Miko, could you give some exercises for the viewers that are not hard on the joints, that are not high impact, but at the same time effective in addressing and trying to prevent arthritis and therefore bone spurs?
It's actually quite a tricky question because it depends mostly on the affected joint. But in terms of trying to look at it as an overview, we all have to remember that it is basically trying to unload the joint. And I think for me personally, one of the best and easiest exercises or sports that a person can do is through swimming. And swimming, there's actually a specialized form of therapy called aquatherapy that can help with these offloading activities for the joint. And not only does it offload you whenever you're submerged into water, it's because of the resistance of the water, it adds more, in a way, strengthening to the muscles around that joint affected.
Dr. Frank, let's talk about that since it's in your line of expertise when it comes to trying to get those joints moving, but at the same time protecting them. One good activity is that of swimming. Is there any other activity, or how can our viewers maximize these activities in order to enhance their health, their overall bone health for that matter?
Swimming is probably the best thing that you can do because of the effect of buoyancy. As you know, buoyancy is there to take off the weight and stress off the knee joints and your hip joints and some of the joints on your back. But something more practical would probably be walking. It's the easiest thing you can do. Very simple. You don't even need a trainer. You don't even need a swimming pool. Simply walking to the best of your ability. A brisk walk would be nice. A brisk walk to a 90-year-old might be very different to a brisk walk for a 50-year-old. But trying to walk and trying to exercise, that's just one way of doing it. Mm-hmm. And another exercise, of course, is cycling because, of course, the seat that you're sitting on, of course, takes off a big chunk of that weight. And what are the things that we should avoid? Definitely high-impact activities like jogging, running, maybe playing tennis, playing basketball, anything at all that puts a lot of weight on that joint, we try to avoid that.
Now we've been talking about ways to prevent it. Let's talk about therapies done for someone who is diagnosed with that of a bone spur. Dr. Miko, let's talk about someone who has a diagnosis of bone spur. First of all, is it easy to spot an osteophyte, Dr. Miko?
Yes, it is actually quite easy. A simple x-ray can essentially showcase where these bone spurs are located and how large they are.
So, Dr. Miko, once someone is properly diagnosed to have osteophytes or bone spur, what is the usual next line of therapy?
In terms of sequencing for therapy, whenever patients come into our clinic, it's because mainly of pain. And as doctors, we really need to address the pain first and foremost. So the usual course is essentially to start patients on a short course of non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. And also one favorite thing that I give to patients, which is quite effective, is like your ordinary paracetamol. A majority of these cases are in the mild to, essentially they are in the mild to at least a less moderate form of osteoarthritis or bone spur formation. And these can be readily treated by these medications.
Now, Dr. Miko, I noticed your first line of treatment was not surgery. Now, my question is, a lot of people say, I have a bone spur. Dr. Miko, why don't you just surgically operate that, get that out, and I'll be on my way? Why is surgery not the first line of treatment when it comes to not just bone spurs, but for a lot of diseases, actually?
To be honest, bone spurs, they don't actually cause too much of a pain, especially in the earlier stages wherein these problems start to develop. They actually become more bothersome and nuisance as a nuisance in terms of symptoms when they get to progress into the moderate to severe stage. So definitely surgery is basically our last resort in terms of treatment. And we always try to focus on the conservative treatment options or the non-operative treatment options in treating these bone spur problems.
That being said, when we return, we'll explore the options you can take to lessen the symptoms of getting bone spurs. You're watching Med Talk Health Talk. We'll be right back.
Mag-smart dishwashing paste, pang heavy-duty hugasin.
Ang galing, galing, galing.
Smart!
Yan ang smart dishwashing
May May double tanggaling formula, tanggal galingan sebo at bakterya. Kaya ang Smart #1 dishwashing paste.
Galing, galing, galing.
Smart!
Yan ang Smart Dishwashing.
Smart dishwashing paste, manufactured by ACS Manufacturing, ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Maayong balita sa tanan sa atong panginahanglan sa panimalay, mga gamit, ingon man mga dekorasyon, pwede na natong mapalit diha sa Wellington Bazaar. Anausab sa Wellington Bazaar ang mga bestidahon, karsunison, plain t-shirt, plastic chair, floor mat, mantel, banig, folding bed, habol, mosketero, trapal, lideret, basketball, stuffed toys ug mga dulaan sa bata. Ang Wellington Bazaar ana magalagad kanato sa dalan Kaymo ning Dakbayan sa Surigao. Wellington Bazaar, gikan sa mga kawani ug tigdumala sa Wellington Bazaar. Maayong adlaw alang kaninyo. Wellington Bazaar, sukiyon ta sa kanunay.
Madaling masira ang ngipin ng pamilya, ngayon pa lang.
Unique toothpaste for brushing every after kumain.
Dahil ang unique toothpaste, may Max Protect formula.
Ngipin ay Max Alaga, Max Protectado pa.
Helps stop cavities even before they start, while keeping breath fresh with regular use.
Unique toothpaste for brushing para siguraduhin ngipin ay Max Alaga, Max Protectado pa. Unique
Max Alaga, Max Protectado with unique toothpaste maximum fluoride protection. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing, ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Uy, Day! Naunsa man ka, Day?
Day, kanang glisod na mo kakita, Day. Uy!
Sus, naunsa ba ka? Uy nga, katong ni aging bulan. Okay pa man ka. Naunsa Day karon?
Laot siguro ni sisingunit aning cellphone ka ng si computer, Day.
Da, mo lagi na akong ingon ba? Uy, Day, nakoy balita para sa imuha. Gamit og Lutein Plus, uy.
Lutein Plus?
Oo, tungod ang Lutein Plus, Day, duna kini 13 ka ingredients. Hindi lang kini para sa mata, kundi sa imuhang tibuok lawas. Nga maka-assist pod sa imuhang anxiety ug depression.
Ang Lutein Plus o sa ka-award-winning brand nga gikan pa sa New Zealand.
The award-winning supplements from Clean Green New Zealand Omega Plus ang support sa heart and blood system. Ang Lutein Plus ay 13 ka mga ingredients lakip ng vitamins A and C. Dili lamang kung maradyaw sa itong pananaw, nagsuporta sa binis sa ato intero lawas. Ning panahon nga jari kita kuman sa COVID-19 pandemic, kinahanglan magpabilin kitang himsog inom sa Lutein Plus, Omega Plus and Primrose Plus of Gel. Inintanan available sa New Family Drug, Palma Drug sa Aquarian Pharmacy.
Boom, papaya, white rose papaya, yeah, yeah, yeah. Boom, puti ka in 7 days, oh yeah, 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 yeah. White rose papaya.
New White Rose Papaya na ay double whitening sa papaya extracts with vitamin B3. Clinically proven yung makaputi in as early as 7 days with regular use.
Boom, puti ka, white rose papaya, yeah, 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 yeah.
Papaya puti, papaya fast. White Rose Papaya with vitamin B3. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Pagdalaga o gulitaw na gani, kinahanglan limpyo og hamis kanunay ang kutis. Gamit og Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap, pampahamis, pampaputi ug pampabata sa panit. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Mao kini ang tubag alang sa mga teenager nga gusto makaangkon og nindot nga kutis. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Karisma Kojic Soap. Ang sikreto sa mga gwapa o gwapo. Karisma Kojic Soap. Mapalit sa inyong mga suking butika.
Mga Surigaonon, ana-anay maayong lugar na adtuan ang Interior Hub Home Furnishing Shop nga nahimutang sa Dalan Borromeo ning Dakbayan sa Surigao. Anaa kanila ang barato na mga gamit para sa pagpagwapa sa inyong banyo, kusina o tibuok balay. Nagtanyag sila sa mga packages, sa faucet, wash basin ug toilet bowl with complete fittings na swak sa inyong budget. Sa Interior Hub Home Furnishing Shop, daghan kay kapilian, mga bag-ong mga designs ug dekalidad ang mga produkto. Interior Hub Home Furnishing Shop, Borromeo Street, Surigao City. Owned and managed by Earl Brian Palma. Contact number 0945-30-60648.
Kay grasya sa Dios gamhanan ug madagayaon gikan sa tinubdan alang sa baskog ug himsog nga kalawasan. Sinatia ang himsog nga kinabuhi ug hapsayng panginabuhi uban sa EXL Makabuhay Plus Capsule. Buhay ay makulay basta't kasama ang EXL Makabuhay Plus Capsule para sa masiglang buhay at masaganang hanap buhay. Mag-EXL Makabuhay Plus Capsule. EXL Life and Herbs Nutraceutical. Health and wellness for God's glory.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
That news was brought to you by ACS Manufacturing Corporation, ISO certified world-class quality.
ACS.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Now that we know what bone spurs are and how they are diagnosed properly, let's discuss how different forms of treatment are and how they are there to prevent bone spurs from causing you more trouble. Dr. Frank, let's talk about some of the therapies involved when someone is diagnosed with having a bone spur. Depending on where they are, let's talk about the more common one on the knees and the feet. What type of therapy are patients expected to have when they are under your care?
What we can try to do is we can try to give modalities to decrease the pain. We could use heat, we could use cold, we could use transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation. There are newer modalities right now such as shockwave therapy, which may actually help to alleviate these symptoms of pain. But more importantly would be exercise, especially the vastus medialis oblique, or it's part of the quadriceps group of muscles, which is involved basically in stabilizing the knee. So we need to do that.
When it comes to a timeline or a time frame where the patient can feel some relief from the pain, I know it varies from patient to patient, but on average, what kind of time frame are we looking at before they can actually feel better and the pain is much less?
We can usually feel some pain relief by starting the medications. So giving a short course of pain medications would be helpful while waiting for the longer term effect of rehab to come in. So while we're decreasing the medications, we're actually going up on the strengthening exercises. And that would probably alleviate the symptoms of the patient, not only in the short term, but also in the long term.
Now, Dr. Miko, can a bone spur resorb on its own? Meaning after good therapy, losing weight, and all this stuff, can the bone spur or the osteophyte resolve on its own, become normal on its own?
The short answer is no. Whenever these osteophytes start to form, they are basically permanent structures, and the only thing that we could do in terms of trying to grab onto these like bone spurs is to prevent the progression or further production of more bone spurs.
Now, Dr. Miko, let's talk about surgery for a second here. When is surgery an option for someone who is diagnosed with osteophytes?
It is always the last option that we take in terms of trying to control the pain. These patients would generally have the severe form of osteoarthritis wherein their joint space has completely eroded. And you can see that essentially whatever these positions come into, it's causing pain, whether at rest, whether while sitting. It's essentially a constant type of pain. And that's usually the tipping point in terms of trying to move forward into surgical management for these cases.
Now, Dr. Frank, when it comes to supplements, a lot of our viewers are really keen on this because there's so many on the market. You have chondroitin, you have collagen, you have calcium and all this. When it comes to osteophytes or bone spurs, could you give the truth of the matter? Is it effective? Is it best left alone?
There is no direct evidence linking the use of supplements such as chondroitin or glucosamine sulfate and calcium as to the progression of bone spurs.
Before we go, do you have any words of advice for our viewers, Dr. Miko?
My take with regards to these problems, it's actually more of a proactive prevention. Rather than we let these bone spurs progress, it's actually quite important that we try to maintain our body physique in terms of controlling the weight and also exercise. I've been seeing a lot of patients who, because of this pandemic, has significantly gone down in terms of physical activity. And I think in terms of moving forward and treatment of these problems, it's more going to be concentrated and should always be concentrated on prevention.
And Dr. Frank, your advice for our viewers?
Yes, and like death and taxes, bone spurs may be unavoidable, but then there are certainly so many things that we can do to control the pain. And the sooner that they see their rehab doctor, their orthopedic doctor, their rheumatologist, or any other doctor, the better we can treat them.
And with that, thank you very much, Dr. Mikhail Louver and Dr. Franklin Domingo, for being with us today. You definitely shared a lot of useful information for our viewers about osteophytes or bone spurs. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk. We'll see you again next time.